knowing that you have to leave your country was one of the most important decisions that my family had to make. It wasn't something easy, and once we knew that our life is danger and there's no way that we can survive in Afghanistan, we had to leave. Because of all the things that we heard about Australia, my family and my dad decided that we should go to Australia. But during this journey, knowing the fact that my mom was actually pregnant from Afghanistan made our trip even harder. We had to stay in boat for 10 days without anything and just hoping that we would survive in the boat and we will not get drowned and get to a country like Australia where we can get that refuge that we need. I have to contribute to this country because of what they have given me, because of the changes that they have made to my life. Because in my country, we never had those opportunities, but in Australia, I've had the opportunity to access to education, to help. I'm a citizen. I'm an Australian citizen, and this is what I have achieved.
Tran was named after Christopher Columbus, being born shortly after his parents sailed from a fallen Saigon to America in 1975. They didn't look back. Tran also traveled thousands of miles across the sea to explore a new life. But surprisingly, Tran found that new life in the very country his parents fled, Vietnam.
I never imagined my son would go to Vietnam and live there and work there.
Tran's personal journey has also become a professional one. He's a successful founder of an internet advertising company in Ho Chi Minh City. Tran says a large part of his success in Vietnam is because he stands out as an American.
Immigration has now become a revolving door. And while many people are coming in, many people are also leaving.
I'm successful here not because I'm Vietnamese American, it's because I'm American Vietnamese.
Of a 4-year-old girl, huddled with her young sister, her mother and her grandmother, for 5 days and nights in a small boat in the China Sea more than 30 years ago. My duty was not to allow it to have been in vain, and my lesson was to learn that, yes, history tried to crush us, but we endured. For her, life had distilled itself into one task, the escape of her family and a new life in Australia. It was inconceivable to her that she would not succeed. If there is a sinew in our family, it runs through the women. Given who we were and how life had shaped us, we can now see that the men that might have come into our lives would have thwarted us. Defeat would have come too easily. Now I would like to have my own children.
Janet and I were, you'd have to say, living the American dream. We had 5 kids, we had our house, we had good jobs, we had good retirement plans, good health insurance. And yet, to tell you the truth, we were somewhat empty. Really take a look at our lives and lead us in a new direction. To go to Argentina, to work with some church planters down there. And just recently, the leaders of Foothill Bible Church agreed with that calling. The poor folks in Argentina are just grasping at anything that will appear to give them hope. Now, instead of going a long way off, what they normally do is just go to the next neighborhood over. What you do is just go share the message of hope.
A Muslim ritual, the morning prayer before going to work. In this cheap hotel in downtown Buenos Aires live around 40 African people, 5 or 6 to a room. Precarious living conditions for these people in search of fortune. But even if it is still not what they had hoped for, they take it with a grain of salt.
Here there's no discrimination. For sure there's racism in any place, but not as much as in Europe.
Here there's no discrimination based solely on skin color, no systematic ID control. As Europe increasingly closed her doors, a new stream of immigration began in the 1990s. People from the Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and above all, Senegal. There might be around 6,000 in Buenos Aires. All of them settled in Argentina because it was relatively easy to get in and to stay.
Students from St. Luke's Middle School in Manhattan have traveled to Long Island City in the borough of Queens to Newcomers High School. As people around the country argue about immigration, two groups of students come together to try to understand the issue on a personal level.
Newcomers High School is a school for newly arrived immigrants, and our students generally haven't been in any school in the United States before. So all of our students are English language learners. They come from over 50 different countries. They speak over 60 different languages.
Since Julie Mann and Kim Allen met 12 years ago at a Facing History teacher training, students from Newcomers and St. Luke's have collaborated annually on projects that center on human rights.
I think for the students at St. Luke's who have had little experience with new immigrants to the United States, they might have one idea of who they are. And they can read about it and they can learn about immigration, but unless they become friends, intimate friends with a person who's an immigrant and really understand what that struggle is about, it's hard for them to know what that means. And so the further back Kim and I can step, the more real that relationship is going to be.